Just going to talk briefly about the Supreme Court matter with the Roe versus Wade thing. And I'm going to speak upon this as those who do know. I don't understand why being a male, why any human would want to go through the pain of contractions and giving birth and raising a little baby to become a child, and from a child to a teenager, and from a teenager to becoming an adult. I know as an Israelite, it says that the Most High makes the mother joyful with children. That's not for me, a male, to understand how that can be. As a male, that's one of them things, as it is what it is. I know that there are parents who wish that they would be able to have children. I have seen how uncomfortable, upset or so a female is when she finds out she may be barren. And what I want to say concerning this particular matter is, how is it when I used to see women in the house of Israel hug other women because she's 1 or 2 months pregnant and she announced it after the Shabbat service or after the Sabbath service that she is, as the scripture says, with child? I know that in slavery, they used to cut the woman's womb open, and that was a form to murder her and the child. I know that in Egypt, ancient times, when the children of Israel were enslaved in there, the edict was put out: if you see a child born, if it's a boy, you slay him. I know that they were talking about in ancient Egypt about throwing the male sons into the river. I know that in South Carolina in slavery, they were talking about the timing that a mother has to nurse her own child. I know, speaking mainly and only at this case, of Black women who look like they are no older than 50 and who talk about their sons and their daughters are in their 20s and 30s. Oh, my oldest is 30 and she may look no older than 50. So we can understand the terminology, as some say, black don't crack. I remember the joy that my mother spoke, may she rest in peace, about how she used to dream about me when she was carrying me in her womb. I know that the Bible talks about the fruit of the womb. The 2 cents that I personally can never understand is knowing the contractions, knowing that this boy or girl is going to grow up to a child, and you may want to, not physically, but want to wring his or her neck for being disobedient. Like, didn't I tell you already? That kind of thing, you know? I can't understand the joy of an abortion. By them having your legs open, putting what is like a vacuum cleaner by your vaginal lips, and then having the baby sucked out, and then taking something and scraping your vaginal walls, and then putting it inside of a bottle or a container or whatever, and they don't let you see it, and then bringing it over into another room. You in there by yourself. Where is the joy and the happiness in that? While I, as a male, can never understand the joy of a contraction, or the fact that pain that some women I heard go into labor talking about from 3 hours to 2 days or something of that kind of nature. And sometimes the baby has to be forced out. I personally was born through what they call a cesarean. So I didn't come out what they call the natural way, or what is the natural way. My mother was ripped after going under anesthesia, and then I was pulled out. There are many babies who come into this earth that way. There are some babies that are born breech and then they have to be turned around, or in some cases where the baby flips around and so forth. Bringing it back to my family, I remember my mother telling me that I used to flip inside of her and that I used to hit her, not, hit her, you know what I mean, like while in her womb. Like she would feel me like boom, boom, or whatever like that. I remember being 13 and watching the movie Roots, and all of the children gathered together to sit there and see the baby that was born. I remember growing up in the understanding of Israel, and I'm not going to mention the young brother's name, I being like 8 years his senior. I remember in a congregation after one Shabbat, this young man was beginning to walk when he wasn't even 1 year old, and seeing the joy on his mother's face, seeing her child walk. If I'm 42 and I was 8 years old then, and he wasn't 1 year old then, we already know who we're talking about, or what we're talking about as far as age range is concerned. You understand? And so in light of all of that, family, in truth, what can truly be understood and respected in that? You understand? It's kind of bewildering and crazy when you get right down into it.